Our material wealth is important, but if we protect our liberty, our material wealth will be protected and enhanced. But too often we concentrated on the materialism of the country and forgot to figure out where it came from. So this to me is very important, but it's the issue of economic policy that has drawn the attention to so many American people because they know that what we have is unsustainable. We just can't do it. We can't keep spending money by the trillions, printing money by the trillions of dollars, running up these huge debts, and thinking that it's going to solve all the problems. And every time they have a new policy, whether it's economic or an overseas policy or tackling your liberties, it's always at the expense of your personal freedom. That has to be reversed. We got on the wrong track in the 1930s because the academicians in the 1930s decided that the reason we had a bubble and a burst of the bubble and a depression was that capitalism didn't work, and we had to reject capitalism, we had to reject the notion of sound money. The gold standard was ridiculous and old-fashioned, we had to get rid of that. And government needed to be bigger, and they said it needs to be regulated. And they also believed in the Keynesian idea that you can create jobs by having a global empire and fighting wars. So all these ideas were pervasive throughout the system. Republicans and Democrats both accepted these views to our detriment. But today, something else is happening. They've had their chance. They've had their 70 to 80 years of controlling our economy and controlling the people, controlling our foreign policy, and this is what they've given it. So it's time we heard a new message. And to me, that new message is a different understanding of economics. Not brand new. It's been around, but it's been refined. In this century, it's been especially refined, and partially in the last century, it's been refined. It's called Austrian free market economics. I'm delighted to hear that you actually even have an opportunity in this school to study Austrian economics and you look around and pay attention. I think that's wonderful. But our policies have failed completely and totally. In the last decade, we lost a couple million jobs that aren't likely to come back soon. We have a couple million less people working, and yet the population in the last 10 years increased by 26 million people. And they wonder why our country's poor. We aren't producing. We are living off past wealth. At the same time, we're living off our borrowing power. We have deceived the people of the world to trust us because we will protect the value of our dollars, and they keep taking our dollars, and we keep getting lazier and lazier. We do not do the work. We borrow, and we spend, and we live beyond our means. And just this 2 years ago, it was announced through the marketplace, enough is enough, we can't do it any longer, and some changes have to occur. So far, the changes have not been good in Washington. The good changes have been outside of Washington, with people like you who are waking up and deciding that the crowd of people we have in Washington has to be changed. We have to have new ideas and different viewpoints, and more faith and confidence in sound money and free markets. Yeah. Since the breakdown of the marketplace 2 years ago, our government has spent $3.7 trillion. This includes everything that the Fed did by creating money out of thin air and everything that the Congress spent. And they said, yes, but we're improving. We turned the corner. We've had a couple of blips on government statistics. You know, the old-fashioned way, if you spent $3.7 trillion, you should have had a gigantic upward and a lot of production. But actually, there was no growth at all. The claim is that if you measure GDP increase, which has many shortcomings, using it as a measurement, it's gone up $100 billion. But if you take into consideration inflation, it actually went down. Where did the $3.7 trillion go? What happened? We're suffering from it. People suffer from it. They still have, high cost of living, less jobs, losing houses. But who got bailed out? The guys that were making all the money when the bubble was being inflated. And they come in and they get the money, they get the bailouts, they're getting interest, they're getting loans from the Federal Reserve at 1%, and they loan back to the government and make 2 or 3 or 4%, and they're making a killing. at the same time the people are suffering. It's characteristic of what Austrian economics teaches, that eventually when you destroy a currency, you wipe out the middle class. And we're witnessing the wiping out of the middle class. There's a large number of people who are suffering. There are people who don't have jobs and wish they could get jobs, and they're in over their heads. At the same time, the people who should have been bailed out got bailed out. I'm not infrequently asked on television, they said, yes, but don't you think we would have had a depression by now if we wouldn't have done that? I said, yeah, maybe the people on Wall Street would have had a depression, but now the depression's with the people. And it should be the other way around. We just don't need it. And there's no reason for this. We have lost our way because we've lost our understanding and conviction that freedom works and that the marketplace is more productive than central economic planning. That is what they accepted when they accept Keynesian economics. And we don't want socialism in America, but we want help. We want the government to be the lender of last resort, to pick up all the pieces, take care of people from cradle to grave. At the same time, it will be modified socialism, and it will make sure there's equal distribution of wealth. What it did was it destroyed the wealth-producing elements in our society and indebted us generations to come, which now is being required to be paid off. So this argument that this government and central economic plan is completely fallacious. There was a time when we believed and we understood that free people would work harder. We are a free people because we have our rights to our lives naturally given to us or God given to us. That we own our lives and they are our lives. We have our right to our life, but we also have our right to our liberty, and we ought to have the right to the fruits of our labor. When the revolution is completed, the peaceful and intellectual revolution, we will see that the Fed will be removed, but we will also repeal the 16th Amendment and we will prohibit the government from taxing our nation. Of the government assuming they own us, and there are a couple of things that they do to make that point. For young men, they make the point that they own you because you're required to register just in case they need you to go off and fight some civil war. And the other thing that they do, of course, is they've introduced this notion of the income tax rather recently, like 1913. It hasn't been with us since the beginning. But this whole idea that the government can determine what percentage of the money you can keep, now the notion in Washington, and some conservative Republicans slip into saying this, but mostly liberals who like spending, they make the assumption if they cut your taxes, you have to mark it down as a cost of government. Which is the assumption made that they own everything and what they allow you to keep is a cost to them. So it's these perceptions that are wrong. It's the perception that you own property, which is false. You don't own property. You manage property. It's in your title, but you're going to pay plenty of taxes, and you're going to follow all the rules and regulations, and there are going to be dozens and dozens of local, of the state, and now even the encroachment of regulations internationally by the WTO and the United Nations, and I'll tell you what, old-fashioned belief in private property works and can work and would protect the property, would protect the people. That's what we need, an emphasis on property ownership. Another responsibility of government in a free society is to protect contracts. Contracts are important. That's what makes a market work. You make promises, and you are obligated to fulfill those promises. And if not, the government should be involved in making sure that that is taken care of. But today,